Hi, I'm just curious because you're saying that, like atheism, you're saying it's really simple, that it's just simply that I don't know. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just...
I don't have a belief in God or gods.
Right.
That's technically the definition.
Right.
The A is a neutral. In Greek, A before a word means I'm neutral about it. I don't have a yes or a no.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I just don't.
Well, so I'm just curious then, because in my past I feel like most people that I've met that are atheists also usually believe in evolution. And so I'm curious, one, if you believe in evolution, and if you do, if you believe in theories like the Big Bang Theory and you know, other theories that take a lot of faith. I'm curious because you could say a lot of religions have to do a lot with blind faith. But I would also include evolution in that, that if you want to believe in the Big Bang Theory, you have to have a lot of blind faith in that.
Well,
so I'm curious if you...
Okay, perfect. Here's the thing that I would say. I don't need to believe in any of that. I simply will look at the evidence and say, right now, based on the evidence as I see it, this is the best explanation for the origin of the universe and how man came about on this planet. I don't need to take anything further than that, and all I have to say is, this is what I think happened based on the evidence that I have now. Science advocates what's called a provisional acceptance of claims. And that claim is based on, where does the evidence lead? If the evidence is overwhelmingly leading this way, I'll go this way. But you know what? Tomorrow, if the evidence shifts and it goes over this way, we can go that way. There is no dogma. There is no, nothing that I have to believe based on anything faith-oriented. If it turns out tomorrow that evolution was completely wrong, I think that's the odds of that are the same as us finding out tomorrow that Newton's laws of gravity were completely wrong. And that's how overwhelming I think the evidence is. If that turns out to be wrong, I don't have to fight that. I mean, look at what happened. Galileo came around and he said, you know what, I've been observing things, and boy, it looks to me like the Earth might go around the sun, and that the Earth is not the center of the universe. You couldn't say that because Holy Writ had said, or at least they thought at the time, the way they interpret it, is that the Earth was the center of the universe. So what they did to him was lock him up. They were going to kill him. They killed Giuseppe Bruno for doing the same thing. They locked him up for the rest of his life. And they didn't get over this, they being the Catholic Church, until the last century. They finally apologized 400 years later and said, you know what, we got that wrong. There's nothing in science like that, where we have to, you know, people don't, who's the physicist who challenged Hawking on the radiation out of the black hole? String theory guy. No, darn it, I've ridden with him in a car. Now it's just killing me. Leonard Susskind. Leonard Susskind challenged Stephen Hawking on his theory that nothing escapes a black hole. There was no war over that. Scientists didn't start killing each other over it because the discipline is to say, well, we don't know, let's see. And they researched it more, and they researched it more, and they researched it more. And in the end, Leonard Susskind was right. Or at least, that's what we believe now. If tomorrow we need to believe something else because the evidence leans that way, we can simply do it. You don't go to war over stuff because when you're saying, I don't know, there's nothing there that you need to assume beyond it. Like, if you don't buy it, you're gonna spend all your eternity being tortured in eternal fire.
So, sorry, just to clarify, I'm kind of confused.
But I am an evolutionist, as you.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I don't know. Just the part to me about saying that atheism is simply the statement "I don't know," but to then put your faith in evolutionism, that seems to say that you're knowing something, or that you're putting your faith in something rather than absolutely nothing.
Provisionally, we do know things. We know nothing for certain. There is nothing we know with a certainty, but we know enough provisionally that, for instance, for the laws of gravity, we knew enough to get a man from the Earth to the moon and back, because we knew enough about that from testing it from verifying that, yes, if you do this, this happens. There's no way to do that with religion or God. If you do X, Y happens. There's never been a case in history where we have that kind of a clear course of evidence where if you believe X, God will take care of you. No, what you get is the book of Job saying, you know what? If you believe X and you follow God, he may dump all over you. Okay, well then what do we know about it? There's just nothing we can know. We can know things about the physical world, at least provisionally. Once again, we have no way to test and go out and find out absolutely this is what the case is in this case with God or the supernatural, because we have no way of tapping into the supernatural. There's no reality check to the supernatural. But the world that we live in, you can find things out. And we have. That's why you're living in the world that we live in, where you can talk to someone on the iPhone, for an ungodly amount of time, if you can hold the connection with AT&T. And everything that we have now today is because we stopped thinking about this stuff that we can't possibly know, that just gets us into wars and trouble and stuff. And we started focusing on asking the right questions, not building the city of God, but building the city of man, and saying, what can we know about this world, and how can we make this world better, because we don't know what's coming afterwards. Oh, sorry, over here.
Hello, my name is Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
And I was wondering what your opinions on how religion is used as a tool for man's personal gain. For example, soldiers in a war or social control.
Yeah, I have a saying that I've written for a book. I can never remember it exactly right, but never in the history of humankind has any pastor, priest, rabbi, or any kind of cleric ever taught his congregation a fool and his money are soon parted. The ability to manipulate other people by telling them that you know something that they don't, and putting yourself above them by saying, I have some special connection to a being up here who's telling me this and that and the other's going to happen, the examples are just, we could go on and on. David Koresh, Joseph Smith is one of the great, Joseph Smith was if you read anything about him, there was never a man as charismatic on the planet as this guy. This guy could make you believe anything, and did with a lot of people. This is a guy who I had this debate with people who don't like Scientologists of who had the bigger balls, Joseph Smith or L. Ron Hubbard. And L. Ron Hubbard comes pretty close, but he didn't get to the point where he convinced other people that God wanted them to have his wife too. That's some pretty big balls. And that's the kind of thing you can do when people will presume that you have some kind of power over them because you're in connection with somebody above who's pulling the strings. Yeah.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. About 45 years ago, when you asked a question about raising atheist children, about 45 years ago, my little girl came home crying her eyes out. She was in terrible pain, crying and all upset, trying to comfort her. Jane, what's wrong? Masha won't play with me anymore because I don't believe in God.
Yeah, well, I lost, when I left my religion, I lost virtually every friend I had within the religion because they can't take any kind of opposing view. I don't care what you think. I don't care, if you can show me evidence for X, Y, or Z.